The Pan-South African Language Board is in studio this morning. Now, they'll be announcing the 2023 Word of the Year. Now, you're probably asking, what is that? It's a word or an expression that reflects the ethos, the mood, or the preoccupations of the past 12 months. Now, some of the shortlisted words include danko, ivalemfana, guningi, batung, and 10 past 4. And I'm sure a lot of those were for the social media, but somebody who'll give us better insight is Ntombentle Huluhulu. She's the PanSALB South Language Board spokesperson. And we also have Miki Moretti, who's doing the sign language translation for us. A very good morning to both of you ladies. So, Ntombentle, tell us about the word of the year. What are the criteria? How are these words shortlisted? Who qualifies?
Oh, okay. Well, basically, as a word of the year, as you said, is just to really reflect on the passing year in language. So obviously, you would then have to look at your media, your broadcast, credible print, also, just to check what were people's, mostly talking about the topical issues in your. As you see, we also have this year, we also expanded as a Word of the Year campaign to include social media. So in essence, today we'll be revealing 2 words. So that is the one word, which is, we had shortlisted, I think, interest rate, Russia, the Ukraine war, and then we've got, what's the other one, geopolitics, I think.
Because the ones that I spoke about now, my assumption is that those are social media words, right?
Yeah.
The batung, ivalimfana.
Definitely.
That's the
that's the fun
franco.
part.
That's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got mainstream, you've got social media. My guess would be, as far as shortlisted ones, and tell me if I'm right, I'm going to play a guessing game with you, right? Was petrol shortlisted?
It was discussed.
It was discussed. Corruption?
Yeah, it was submitted, but not shortlisted.
Not shortlisted.
Not shortlisted.
ESCOM?
Well, you know what? We had load shedding, but it won last year, so we had to disqualify it for this year.
Right. Okay. So load shedding was there, but not.
Yeah,
ESCOM,
it was the winner last year.
Okay. And then water?
No.
No.
We had eggs submitted.
Which then brings me to my question. What is the duration that you look at as far as evaluation is concerned? Yes, it's the word of the year, but when do you start evaluating it? Is it from January or is it later on in the year? Because eggs would have been coming up now.
Just now,
that's
yes.
Very recent.
Yeah. So we look at from October the last year, I think. So we announce the essay word of the year every year on International Dictionary Day, I think, which, as you know, today is International Dictionary Day. So we just want to try and, drive up some interest, really, also emphasize the importance of using dictionaries, to expand one's vocabulary, as well as to also, increase the literacy levels, which, as you know, they're also declining in the country. I mean, we had that study done by the 2030 reading panel that said, children from the age of 10 and under cannot read for meaning. So that's generally what the aim of the campaign is. And also we're just trying to pick out, some of the interesting words that are coming out.
And so what is the end objective? Yes, you've discussed it's about encouraging reading, using the dictionary, the importance of words. But what happens to these words after they've been selected? For example, load shedding. Does it get added into some sort of an encyclopedia, or does it get added into some sort of a collation of the words of the year? What happens after the announcement? Okay,
well, we have, as PanSALB, we have structures which are national lexicography units that are responsible for the compilation of dictionaries. In fact, today they're having an event in Bombela, Mpumalanga, where they're also, raising awareness in terms of the dictionaries that we produce, and we produce them in all official languages. So obviously, you hope that with some of these terms that are coming up, we saw that with the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, we had a lot of terms that were coming up that were not necessarily available in African languages. So hopefully, as obviously the dictionary compilation process is a long one. So you would hope that at some point, we actually do get these words or terms included into our own dictionaries.
And I'm thinking specifically about the common phrases like, guningi, etc. If those will be added into some sort of a colloquial dictionary per se. You know how like bootylicious, for example, ended up actually making it into a dictionary and actually is a word now that can be used. Is there a possibility that some of these years, especially the colloquial ones, would actually end up in a colloquial dictionary per se?
Well, that is, an interesting point that you're raising. Perhaps our national lexicographers are actually watching, so we hope that they might, maybe create a dictionary that, would reflect how South Africans speak, particularly on social media. We find that a lot of people are using words, there's interlanguage, you're using words that you don't necessarily, like for a language that you don't necessarily speak, for example, you've got to batung, it's literally just being used by all speakers, like all South Africans, for example, even Ukuningi, to be honest.
Gareth was just saying earlier on that he thought, batung, guningi, and it's really great to hear, as you said, everybody uses these terms. So after the words have been shortlisted, who actually submits the words first and foremost?
Okay, we do get some engagement from the public, obviously, but also this is discussed with our internal language experts, as you know, that we are, a constitutional body that is, tasked with promoting multilingualism in the country. So we do have that some level of engagement with the public around, some of the words that they think might be, and then we actually do consider them. And and then there's a media research company that we then partner with, which is Focal Points. Then they do the back search for us, which is more analyzing the data, so to speak, after we've shortlisted the names.
And so based on the analysis by Focal Points, the media research company, you then come up with the word of the year?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, so shall we get to the moment? So today's a big day, and it's a big day because right here on eNCA, on the morning show, the words of the year are going to be unveiled for the SA public. Shall we start with, well, maybe before we do the unveiling, I'd like you at home, if you can, go to your social media platforms at eNCA on X and eNCA News and guess. What is, do you believe, the word of the year for mainstream media? What do you believe should be the word of the year for social media? And we'll see if you get it right. Just a little bit of fun this morning. So, Ntombentle, perhaps let's start with which one do you want to start with, social media or mainstream?
Let's start with mainstream.
You want to start with mainstream?
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead. So, the word of the year for 2023 mainstream is, ta-da, Russia-Ukraine. Russia-Ukraine is the word of the year for 2023. And I guess it makes sense topically right now because it's what people are talking about.
It does. I mean, there's been a lot of things that were discussed around that topic, you know what I mean, from the country, the official stance of the country and its role, as the host of BRICS and, those controversies, and the political pressure, really, that was placed on the country to, whether or not the president of Russia is going to come, you know what I mean? There's been a lot of things that have been going on around that political space.
All right. The second part, the unveiling of Word of the Year 2023 for social media is, ta-da, Asian, Guningi. What does Guningi mean for somebody who's like, what?
It's a lot. It really has been a lot. I think a lot of viewers as well will know that there's been some elements of what we have been talking about that are not reflected really on the shortlist, which is your Thabo Basters, your Dr. Nandipha Magudumane, you know what I mean? But we had to have those conversations whether or not a name of a person really qualifies to be as a word of the year. And we really just had to, make that decision to disqualify it. So it's been a lot. Just when you think we're over this, something else comes up.
Guning.
It really is.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And Ntombentle Huluhulu and Mickey Moretsi Danko. Siabong. So those are the words of the year. Then Russia, Ukraine, and Guningi. It's a lot, South Africa. From the PanSALB South Africa Language Board, thank you so much for that.